Right then guys, how's it going, and welcome back to your football predictions, the series where we try and predict all of the weekend's Premier League football. We are still in the international break. England have still got to play another game, but I can't wait for the Premier League to come back this weekend. And before we talk about those games, let's take a quick look at my predictions from the last weekend of Premier League football, which feels like ages ago now. I got 0 correct scores. Again, it's it's not getting better for me at the minute. It wasn't an easy weekend. I mean, Villa beating Arsenal 3-0. Spurs just got the 1 goal against West Brom. Crystal Palace beating Leeds 4-1. So it wasn't easy, but as always, you guys showed me up. We had loads of people who got 1 correct score. I think we had 5 or 6 people who got 2 correct scores, but just one person got 3 correct scores, and that was David. So well done to you, mate. He's been following the channel and commenting on the videos for a long time, so I appreciate the support, and I appreciate everyone who got involved with the last video. And remember, if you want to be shouted out in my next predictions video, which will be next week, be sure to get your predictions down in the comments below for this weekend's Premier League games. But as always, we will go through all of those games now. First game of the weekend is on Saturday at 12:30. That's right, there is no Friday night game for the first time in a while, which means you guys have got all the way through till 12:30 on Saturday to get your predictions in. First game of the day is on BT Sport, and it is Newcastle taking on Chelsea. And just to mention as well, they've scrapped the whole pay-per-view thing as well. So well done to you guys who didn't pay the extra 10 quid. We've had a little bit of a win there because we still need to have BT, Sky, Amazon and everything else to watch the games, but at least we don't have to pay an extra tenner. And I mean, I don't have BT, so I'll have to find a definitely legal way to watch this game instead. But it is Newcastle taking on Chelsea. Newcastle is sitting in 13th place. I mean, that's where we finish every season, so it's probably about right. In the last 6 games, Newcastle have drawn, won, lost. Drawn, won, lost. So does that mean we're going to draw against Chelsea on Saturday? I hope so. I mean, that would be quite nice. A big issue for Newcastle is that Wilson has had a hamstring problem. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the Chelsea game. They're hoping he is, and I'm hoping he is, because I think without him we're going to really struggle. If we're going to struggle as it is. It's already going to be tough. Without someone to stick the ball in the net, it's going to be even tougher. As for Chelsea, they're currently sitting in 5th place. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about Chelsea when the season started because they had spent a lot of money. They've been trying to integrate a lot of players, trying to find... and just wait for them to get to full fitness as well. Just integrating with the squad, getting everything ready. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, Chelsea haven't lost a game in 11 games in all competitions, which isn't bad going. Ziyech has obviously stepped into the team and looked fantastic for them as well, so no doubt the Chelsea fans are happy about that. Hopefully Newcastle's draw continues, but unfortunately I've gone 3-1 Chelsea. I mean, Newcastle do historically put up a good fight against Chelsea at St James's Park, but without the fans, I think it'll unfortunately be a little bit different this time round. So I've backed Chelsea, but again, I hope I'm wrong. Next up again on the Saturday, but at 3 o'clock again on BT Sport, we have got Aston Villa taking on Brighton. So Villa currently sitting in 6th place. I mean, what a fantastic season they've had so far. Obviously coming up to the Premier League, knew it wasn't going to be easy, went on a fantastic run, and then out of nowhere lost against Leeds, lost against Southampton, and I'm thinking, is that it over? Have they started too well? But they've fixed it very quickly, beating Arsenal 3-0 before the international break. I mean, what a win that was. And Aston Villa have got a very good set of fixtures coming up as well. Not to mention Grealish is looking brilliant for them, for club and country. So can Aston Villa continue the form they had before those 2 losses? It'll be tough because they were so good. I mean, the Liverpool game, but I should imagine they will continue with some good form, because as I say, the next few games are against some of the other promoted sides, and I think they're going to do alright. Taking on Brighton, who are a team that I've said since the start of this season I thought had looked good, but had just had some really tough fixtures. But then that, and the fact that Mapai got dropped at one point because of attitude problems. Ryan, the goalkeeper, suddenly got dropped out of nowhere, but I think he's come back in now. I don't really know what's going on with Brighton at the minute. They are sitting in 16th place. They've got just 6 points from 8 games. They drew 0-0 with Burnley before the international break, which really, considering what a tough start they've had, is a game they should have been looking at winning, considering Burnley are all the way down at the bottom. So I've backed Villa to win 2-0. As I say, Villa had looked good. They beat Arsenal. I think the form could continue. And with a player like Jack Grealish looking as good as he is, you can easily pull them through a game like this. So let me know what you think down below. Next up on the Saturday at 5:30 on Sky, we have got Spurs taking on Man City. So Spurs currently sitting in 2nd place. I mean, I was looking at this before I started the video. Losing their first game against Everton, and at the time, thinking, wow, you know, Mourinho's really got his work cut out for this team. They just didn't look right. It didn't seem to be working, and they've not lost a league game since. So that just shows you, you know, first impressions, or maybe just making your mind up too early, because they've done fantastic since then. I mean, the run that they've been on hasn't been the toughest. They've played some of the promoted sides. They just got through a 1-0 win against West Brom before the international break, and now coming back, I think the run is Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, and then I think it's Crystal Palace, then Liverpool, Leicester. So like, you literally are looking at the fact that they've done so well to this point. Where are they going to be at the end of these next 6 games? Because that's going to be the big tell to know a lot more of where they're looking likely to finish this season. But you got to say, up till now, they've been looking good. As for Man City, currently sitting in 10th place, which I mean sounds pretty poor, but it's actually just 5 points behind Spurs. And bearing in mind, Man City started the season a week late. They've got a game in hand, 5 points behind. Win that game, that's 2 points. So, I mean, the league is so tight. And it's what, like I was saying, it's so tough to make predictions because everyone's beating everyone. But that's why the Premier League is good to watch, because you never know what's actually going to happen. And I mean, this game's really tough to predict as well. I mean, Man City, I think, do have the issue that Aguero's not fully fit. Jesus has been filling in. They've been playing Sterling in that forward role at times, and Sterling's actually picked up a knock, and I don't think he's going to play in the England game. So I think it's probably likely he'll be back in time for this Spurs game. But still, you don't know. And what are you going off here? You know, because Spurs have had the fantastic form. Yes, they are now going to go in against like what you'd call the other big 6 or the other big teams in the league, but they've not been doing that. Like, I wouldn't say Man City have been particularly playing better than Spurs. I wouldn't say that Liverpool have either. So will Spurs now stumble against these teams, or will they just power their way through? I mean, Kane and Son are looking good. It's tough, and for that reason, I've done my bit as always and sat on the fence. I've gone 1-1. I mean, you could edge it either way. It could be 1-0 one way, 1-0 the other way, 1-1, 2-2. Like, I honestly don't know how to pick this one. I mean, Son and Kane could easily grab a goal. But then Man City, De Bruyne, Sterling if he plays, like Mahrez, some of these players can create something out of nothing. Regardless of the score, it's going to be a good one. Interested to know what you guys are going to predict on it. Moving on again on the Saturday, a late one at 8 o'clock on BT Sport, we have got Man U taking on West Brom. So Man U currently sitting in 14th place. Again, they are a team who started the season a week late. Man U have been up and down. You know, there's no denying the fact that they've got some fantastic players in that team. Bruno Fernandes looked really good this season. Rashford doing some good things on and off the pitch. But it's just been so inconsistent. I remember the time when I was doing a video just like this one, talking about the fact that they hadn't looked good. Then they went and beat PSG. And then I think they drew with Chelsea. And you're thinking, right, that's it now. You know, it's a kick up the backside, and now they're moving forwards. And then they've come out and lost against Arsenal 1-0. Then they beat Everton before the international break. Like, coming into this West Brom game, which Man U team is it going to be? Like, it's tough. Taking on West Brom, who 18th place. Again, they are a promoted side. It's never easy that first season into the Premier League. They are still waiting for their first win. They've actually got 3 points, which no doubt they'll be happy with, but they're from 3 separate draws. Having said that, 3 draws, 3 points, it's keeping them above the bottom, you know? If they just keep pulling the draws in all season, they're relying on other people not doing well around them. But, you know, at least they are pulling something in. I mean, as for this game, I've spoken about Man U's inconsistency, but I think they do have the players, and I think they will win this one. I've gone 3-1 Man U. Is that too many goals? I don't know. It's quite hard to tell again. Some games have loads of goals and then other games are coming in 0-0. 3-1 Man U. Moving on to the Sunday now at 12 o'clock. Now this one's on BBC, so you don't have to pay anything to watch this one. And it's Fulham versus Everton. So Fulham, another side who have just come up to the Premier League this season. I mean, it's not the dream start they would have wanted. They did get a win against West Brom about a month ago now because of the international break, but they did get that win. And I mean, as I say, if you want to be out of that danger zone, you've got to beat the teams around you, and they did that. They then played West Ham just before the international break started. Lookman? Someone had a penalty for Fulham, and he's tried to chip it, and it looked terrible, and the keeper just stood there and saved it, and then they lost 1-0 against West Ham. I mean, I don't want to have a go at the guy, but come on, I mean, really, it was one of the worst penalties I think I've ever seen. So, Fulham didn't have a great start, but they beat West Brom. They should have had at least a draw against West Ham. At home with Everton, can they continue at this kind of better form in the last few games? I mean, speaking of form, Everton were flying at one point, and now they're down to 7th place, and they have lost their last 3 Premier League games. Like, you don't realise it. In my head, I'm still thinking Everton were looking fantastic this season. They've lost the last 3 games in a row, and the big part of that, I spoke about this last time round, is that Calvert-Lewin is a fantastic striker, but strikers come in different shapes and sizes. Everyone can do different things better or worse, and Calvert-Lewin is the man who can stand in the box and he can find the net. But he's not Aguero. He's not going to turn on a sixpence and dribble it around 3 players and score. He needs other players for that, and with the likes of Richarlison being suspended, Rodriguez being injured, and at 1 or 2 others being out, Digne was out as well. He's found it tough. But I believe Richarlison is back, and I also believe Rodriguez could be back for this game as well. So with all that in mind, I've gone 1-0 Everton. With those key players, this is the thing. I think if Everton could, I don't know, make-believe contract that all those players will be fit for every game all season, I think they could have a real crack at top 4, if not higher. But without those players, it just shows straight away they've lost the last 3 games. So, yeah, I've backed them for this one. What happens next, we'll have to see. Next up on the Sunday at 2 o'clock on Sky, we have got Sheffield United versus West Ham. Sheffield United sitting bottom of the league, 20th place. I've literally just wrote here, having a nightmare. I mean, I can't really say too much more than that, to be honest. Sheffield United, I think, was a team that a lot of people liked last year. They'd just come up. They're straight away, they're challenging for the top 6. Not a lot of money in the team, just hard working team, showing that you can achieve something. And then this season, it just hasn't worked for them. Still obviously trying to bring the points in where they can. They have brought in Brewster from Liverpool. And I mean, I do like the fact that they've gone, things are going wrong here. We need to do something about it. 25 million, I think it was, on Brewster. I mean, he was a player who was just about looking like he was going to get into the Liverpool side before having an injury, which then set him back, and then he's never really made his way in. And they've flooded this money into him. And you don't know, maybe he could well be worth that value, and he will start sticking the goals in. But, you know, it's very tough for any striker to be playing in a team that really don't create that much and don't get that many chances to suddenly turn it around and start banging the goals in. You know, it's like Newcastle United, unfortunately. You know, we don't create enough, we don't have enough shots. And when we do have a shot, you want it to be Callum Wilson who's trying to stick the ball in the net. Last season it was Joe Linton, and he wasn't clinical enough, and it hurt us. You know, so they are relying a lot on a player who, well, we have to wait and see. You know, I do wonder if they went out in January and went and brought in Rondon or someone who's Premier League proven, who you know can get some goals. It's like Fulham having Mitrovic. I know he's been pushed back a little bit at the moment, but he's a player you know can score, and when he gets the chance, he normally does. Know about Sheffield United. West Ham. Played 8, won 3, drawn 2, lost 3. So currently sitting in 12th place. It's middle, isn't it? They're sitting in 12th. They've won 3, they've lost 3, they've drawn 2. I mean, West Ham have obviously had some good games and some bad, but they are coming on now to a decent-ish little string of fixtures, playing some of the teams I think they would hope they will be beaten, and that, unfortunately for Sheffield United, includes them in the moment with such poor form. One of the big things for West Ham at the moment is Antonio fit or not? Because he is the main man for them in terms of scoring goals. I know they've got some other players in there like Bowen, like Fornells, but really Antonio's the man you want to be on the pitch. I think if he's playing in these next few games, West Ham could well go on to a little bit of a winning streak here. Without him, I think it is going to be a lot tougher. I've backed them to win it 1-0. I think if Antonio plays, it could be a couple more. But without him, solid 1-0. It's the same with the West Brom game. I mean, it was a last-minute goal from Soucek. Could well be the same in this one. Moving on, still on the Sunday, but on Sky at 4:30, we have got Leeds taking on Arsenal. So Leeds are sitting in 15th place, which I was actually quite surprised by, because whenever I talk about Leeds, everyone's quite excited, and I don't necessarily know if that's because of the fact that they are, well, it can't be because they're sitting in 15th place because they're winning a lot of games. It's more about the fact that the way they're playing their games, it's very attacking, it's very high press, and I think they're spoken well of, not necessarily because they're winning. It's more just the fact that it's a good game to watch, because you know they're either going to score, or because they're so attacking, they're going to concede. So I don't think there's many boring games where Leeds are involved. Although saying that, they are in 15th place, but they're just 5 points off 5th. So again, it just shows how tight the league is at the moment. Can Bamford score some goals against Arsenal this weekend? Possibly. I mean, Leeds, I'm just looking at this here. Leeds had that game they won against Villa, but have actually lost 4-1 in the last 2 games against Leicester and Crystal Palace, which again goes back to the fact that they may well get a goal, but they may well concede as well. Arsenal are currently sitting in 11th place. After 8 games, Arsenal have won 4 and lost 4. They haven't drawn any, they've won 4 and they've lost 4. So again, you can't get any other than middle of the table, 11th place, won 4, lost 4. They are exactly where they are, in the middle. Again, the 3-0 loss to Villa before the international break. Arteta is obviously still just trying to knit everything together. And I think this game's a bit of a toss-up, to be honest. I think it could go either way. I think it'll be exciting, as I say. Maybe a game for Arsenal against Leeds will suit them, because Arsenal aren't creating that many chances, but with Leeds being so forward thinking, they might leave some extra gaps that Arsenal can actually try and create something with. On the flip side, with Leeds being so full on rushing forward, maybe Arsenal will be held back. I don't know. Again, it's an interesting one. I mean, before the season started, I would have just gone Arsenal. Yeah, Arsenal win 2-0. But as I say, Leeds are exciting, and you don't know what's going to happen. Arsenal lost 3-0 in their last game. I've gone 1-1. It doesn't really represent what I've just said about how it'll be attacking and it could go either way. It'll be more interesting if it's 3-3. And if I watch the game, I hope it is. But I've gone relatively boring with a 1-1. Next up on the Sunday again, but at 7:15 on Sky, we have got Liverpool taking on Leicester. So this is going to be a good one. I can see goals in this one as well. Liverpool currently sitting in third place. Salah will... Well, I think it's pretty much confirmed that he won't be at the game. Unfortunately, he's come into contact with the virus and he's now isolating. The last thing I read was that it was getting announced everywhere, but that Liverpool hadn't actually announced it. And I don't know if that's because Liverpool were hoping to do like last-minute checks to try and get the negative so that he could play. From what I understand, he's fine, but obviously he's having to do this isolation bit like everyone else has to. And I should also mention there's quite a few people who are coming out of this international break. I'm sure Doherty from Spurs looks like he's got it. He was hugging Bale. Or in other Premier League players in that Wales versus Ireland game, so who knows what's going to come out of that. I'm sure I read for Arsenal that El Neni, and that the fullback, is it Kalashniak? The fullback, I'm not sure what his name is, but there's a few that are coming up, so I'm hoping it doesn't affect... Well, hopefully everyone's fine to start with, and I'm hoping that, there's not anything that's going to affect the football, but Liverpool... So not only is Salah out, but they're having some horrific defensive troubles. Van Dijk's out. I think Gomez is out. Matip's injured every 3 minutes from what I can tell. Matip is injured every 3 minutes. Alexander-Arnold, is he out? Because I think he's picked up an injury as well. So they don't have what is probably their main attacking player. And then they've got about 4 defenders who are out injured. So literally... I think Mane, Jota, Firmino can handle the going forward defensively. I mean, they've been playing some of these youngsters, Williams, Phillips. Could they all be filling the back line this weekend? Who knows? As for Leicester, they are currently sitting first place and have won their last 3 Premier League games in a row. Vardy is scoring goals. And you've got to wonder, is there a better time for Leicester to be playing Liverpool? Probably not, really. As I say, defensively they are having trouble. And one less thing to worry about with Salah being out. Because of what... And you know what it is? Both teams relatively... Would I say counter-attacking? Yes, but it's not necessarily counter-attacking. It's just very pacey forward lines. Leicester like the long ball of Vardy. Liverpool like the quick through balls for Mane and Jota or whoever's playing. I've gone 2-2. To be honest, if I was going to trust one of the defensive lines, it would probably be Leicester's over Liverpool's at the moment. But again, Liverpool Jota is on fire at the moment. It wouldn't surprise me if he scored. It wouldn't surprise me if Vardy scored. So that's 1-1. Let me know what you think about that one. Moving on to the Monday night now at 5:30 on Sky. We have got Burnley taking on Crystal Palace. So I've already mentioned Burnley briefly. They're currently sitting in 19th place. Just 2 points so far this season from 2 draws. The draw against Brighton in the last game before the international break, which to be honest I don't think is too bad of a draw considering where Burnley are form wise, and as I say I thought Brighton had looked pretty decent so far this season, but still it's a game that probably would have wanted more from, and I would seriously say that they're going to want to win this one as well. They're going to want to win all the games, but there is no easy games in the Premier League, but I mean a home game against Crystal Palace is got to be one you think I would need to be picking up 3 points here, especially with how much trouble they've had this season. I also read earlier about Tarkowski, the centre-back from Burnley. He apparently has declined a Burnley contract renewal because it isn't enough to keep them on. So not only are they having issues on the pitch, but they're having them off the pitch as well. And I do like Sean Dyche. Again, I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I watched him in his interview just basically saying, they are working to try and get to where they want to be. They didn't spend any money in the transfer window. And actually, so one of you guys commented on my last video as well, saying that Sean Dyche would walk after the Brighton game. Maybe the draw was enough to keep him there. But, would Sean Dyche walk from Burnley? I don't think so. I think he's too much of a good guy. I think if anything, he would stay there all the way through to the point they got relegated and then might just say, you know what, I've had enough. I mean, they've not backed him this season, and he's got to feel hard done to from that. Anyway, taking on Crystal Palace, who are currently sitting in 8th place. Crystal Palace had a fantastic start of the season. I'm pretty sure they beat Man U. Second game into the season, was it? And they looked really good, and then suddenly just went quiet. I remember the Brighton game, which I watched for some reason. I wish I hadn't watched it. And the only shot Crystal Palace had all game was the penalty that Zaha scored. So at that point, I'm thinking, wow, they look good defensively, but attacking-wise, are looking pretty bad. And then go and beat Leeds 4-1 before the international break. So Crystal Palace are looking alright, defensively looking decent. They've shown they can score goals with the 4-1 win over Leeds. As I say, because Leeds are so attacking, it does leave room for players like Zaha to get in behind. Will Burnley leave as much room? Probably not. But because of the way Burnley have been, and because Palace are doing alright, I've backed Palace to win 2-1. But again, it's always funny after the international break, because players come back with confidence from elsewhere. Players come back maybe less confident after a poor international break. People are injured. People are sick. So a lot of these games could go either way. And to finish off again on the Monday at 8 o'clock at night on Sky, we have got Wolves taking on Southampton. Wolves currently sitting in 9th place. They've played 9. They've won 4, drawn 1, lost 3. So again, they're in 9th. They've won 4, lost 3, so they're kind of just above middle. Is probably about right. Again, like Sheffield United, I think they pulled in a bit of expectation this season because of the fact last year, they were pushing for that to grab those Europa League spots. This season, everyone's just assuming they're going to be the same, if not even better. But they sold Doherty, they brought in Semedo, they sold Jota. And I think they have just had to do a bit of building, trying to bring the team back together. What is our best starting 11? And again, it happens, it's been like this for a few years now. Wolves are good defensively. They picked that back 5. You're always going to be stronger with a back 5, and it works for them. But also they rely on Jimenez to do a lot of the stuff up top. Is basically a lone striker a lot of the time. So with Wolves, they're not going to concede many. They might get a clean sheet, they might concede 1. So really, you're always looking for Jimenez to try and grab them at least 1 goal, if not 2. So it's rare that a Wolves game they've got thumped by this many, but it's also rare that they're going to thump anyone else either. It's normally a pretty close game. Taking on Southampton, who are currently sitting in 4th, but did hit top of the league for the first time ever, if that's right, or for Premier League ever. It must be Premier League. When they beat Newcastle and went top of the league for about a few hours or an evening. And it would be Newcastle because any of the records are bad against us, so there you go. That'll be in not world record. That'll be in another record book somewhere as when Newcastle lost for someone else to do something good. But Southampton have been looking really good. They've won 5 out of their last 6 games. I've backed them to beat Wolves 1-0. As I say, with Wolves, it's never going to be big. either way, and I don't predict it will in this game. Danny Ings injured. I actually said that was going to be a big factor, and I mean, when they played Newcastle, that was a hopeful factor that they wouldn't do well without Danny Ings, but to be honest, they look good anyway. Che Adams, my man, who I mentioned on this channel about 8 weeks ago, when I said that guy is going to do something, and unfortunately he did it against Newcastle as well. He's looked good. You know, I thought without Ings it would hurt his game as well, but they're creating chances. As long as you're creating chances, you're going to get a few goals. 1-0 Southampton. And that is it, guys. So those are all of my predictions up there for this weekend's Premier League football. Be sure to get all of your predictions down in the comments below before the first game kicks off, which is Saturday at 12:30. On Saturday at 12:25, I will make a note of all of your predictions, and then I will shout out the winner of who got the most correct scores in my predictions video next week. So, as I say, get involved, predictions down below. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you are enjoying the prediction videos, and be sure to subscribe if you're new as well. I know a lot of you guys watch my prediction videos every week, but have not hit that subscribe button, and I am getting close to 20,000 subscribers, so if you could, that would be much appreciated. But as always, thank you for watching. If you're interested in fantasy football, posted a fantasy football video last night, so be sure to watch that. And yeah, thank you for watching as always. Have a great weekend, enjoy the football, and I'll catch you later.